Welcome back to the Better Everyday podcast, where we're unlocking our best self one episode at a time. My name is Grace Garcia. It's my wonderful husband, David Garcia. And believe it or not, you guys, I'm related to these beautiful beings. My younger siblings. It's my little sister, Melody Guzman, and the baby of the family, Jessie Perez. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
I'm so happy that you guys said yes to my invitation. Today, we are talking about grief. We have the tissues ready. I already know. Might as well. I already know I'm going to cry.
Give me the whole bottle.
I'm not going to cry.
But yeah, we just want to talk about what grief is, kind of why we feel we could talk about grief. If any of my siblings say, like, we have pretty dark humor. Yeah. So we apologize in advance. It kind of makes my husband a little bit uncomfortable.
You should put a disclaimer. Like
Dark
humor.
Yeah, I think Melody's is like darkest, and then it kind of trickles down.
Yeah.
But so we want to talk about what is grief, kind of why we feel like we can talk about it. And then
I'm going to be laughing the most in this podcast.
Yeah. How we felt, our stories of how we dealt through that, kind of what our journey looked like.
Yeah.
What was the most difficult thing? What was the most thing that brought us peace? And ending it with giving people advice that maybe are going through grief right now. So kind of want to open up with that question. And babe, feel free to hop in at any time. What do you guys, so like, what is grief? Just a quick definition.
Oh.
Melody's like what I feel every single morning. I don't know how to describe it, but I know how it feels.
You know that agonizing pain when you wake up? Yeah, that's kind of it.
That's what it is. I think it's something that it's kind of like missing, longing for something that is no longer there or has left your life.
Yeah, that's good.
I have no idea how else to explain it.
That's perfect. I think that's a good way of saying it.
I think the dictionary definition is like deep sorrow for something that's missing.
Oh.
And then, but I saw a quote that I loved where it says like, love having nowhere to go. Which I've like read it and I'm like, that's exactly what it is. Like you want to love the person so much.
That's a great description.
And I think it was Jamie Anderson. I don't know who you are, but good quote.
Yeah, I think that's a really good description.
And it's like, that's what it feels like. It's like all of this is in you and you can't tell it to the person. You can't see them, hug them.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is. And does anyone want to share
what happened to us?
Why we keep laughing at this?
Okay. Well, if y'all don't know, our mom passed away. And that's the cause of our grief.
7 years ago?
7, yeah.
Yeah, it's been 7 years.
It's Elijah 6.
Yes, our mom, she was an amazing mom. And
we were talking about her coming.
Yeah, we were talking about her a lot while we were on the way here. But yeah, she was an amazing woman, and she mothered 4 children, spiritually mothered thousands others.
Yeah.
She was amazing, and she battled with cancer for many years. I think 3-4 years. I think it was like 3 years.
Yeah.
And the Lord took her.
Yeah, that was. I can't believe it was already 7 years ago.
I know.
It feels like long but short at the same time. It's crazy.
Sometimes I feel like it feels like forever ago, and then it also doesn't feel like that long ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think? Because I'm sure people who watch this have a lot of people in different ways experience grief. So we're able to kind of at least know, okay, she has cancer and it was stage 4. When we found out, it wasn't like, oh, there's time to turn it around. It was boom, right?
Yeah.
Stage
Just
4.
instantly.
Do you think that it was easier maybe because you had time to process it? I mean, no matter what, it sucks. But did you kind of appreciate, okay, we know, or were you like, nah, this just sucks no matter what? I wish it was kind of like fast.
Personally, I'm grateful that it wasn't instant. I think that would be way worse, like horrible. I couldn't even imagine. I think when we found out, we started to do life a little bit differently and started to appreciate her a little bit more. And I think we were like intentional, like we don't know how much time we have.
Yeah.
I think we also all felt like God's going to do a miracle. Like we really believe that he's going to perform a miracle. So I don't think we were fully, at least for me, I wasn't fully like, yeah, she's going to pass away. Like I was like still expecting for something to turn around. Yeah. So when it did happen, I was still very much in like denial and shock that it actually did happen. But yeah, I think I'm grateful for the time that we had to like kind of mentally prepared because I took a lot of videos in those times, and
Yeah.
I appreciate that it was a little bit longer.
Yeah. I feel like, to be honest, that time of her going through cancer, it felt somewhat long in my opinion, because I felt like there was a lot more, like what you said, quality time over.
Yeah.
So then it felt a little longer. So then I feel like, in my opinion, like when she did pass, I wasn't like happy, but I was like, okay, like I got to spend time with her.
Yeah.
And like kind of be able to enjoy the time I had with her, because it felt, in my opinion, a little longer than it should have felt.
Yeah, they gave her a year.
Yeah, and
or like less than a year, and it was
the fact
3
that
years.
extended, like I think I was grateful for it. And like what you said, I think I mentally prepared longer, and I was happy. And then when it happened, I was like, okay, like honestly, I got the most when
You prepared the
should've-
most you could have. Yeah. How'd you feel?
Yeah, I think similar. It did seem. I think the reason why it seemed longer. Well, no, it was longer, but in the beginning, I felt like we were living kind of in denial. Like nothing's wrong. Like at least the first half.
Yeah.
And I remember having to like talk with it through my therapist and really like break it down, because I think I was mad at the fact that we didn't prepare. At least I felt like I didn't prepare that much.
Okay.
Like I was being intentional, but I feel like if I kind of came head on with, okay, she's gonna die. Like, well, that's a huge possibility. My mind would have been way different than of like, I had so much hope.
Yeah.
And I think we couldn't talk about what would have happened if she passed away. It was coming from a place of like, God is good, God is gonna do a miracle, which he totally can, and that is the truth. Like he can do that. But in a way that kind of like robbed my preparation, or robbed me to think, okay, let me just plan this out. Like, what is it gonna look like? I think I would have been way more stronger post if I allowed myself to feel those feelings.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I wish we could have done, or, but I do think our overall family didn't allow us to really, even I don't think she allowed us to be like thinking, yeah, she's going to pass away. And I do wish maybe I was a little bit more like, okay, that is like a
Possibility.
big possibility, and I want to do these things before she passes away and stuff. So there's a lot of regrets that I have that I wish I did more, like asking her about recipes and asking her like to take more videos and ask her a bunch of questions and things like that. I'm like, I wish we had those moments saved forever, but
Yeah.
7 years later, if you hear of somebody close to you guys going through the same thing, what are you telling them?
We've had that situation. I actually have a friend that's going through it right now, where she's stage 4 cancer. I always feel like I don't know what to say. I don't ever feel like adequate. Like, because I remember when it happened for us, everything that people would say, it felt like, okay, thank you, but like nothing helped.
Touches the heart. Nothing
Like, yeah,
makes it
nothing
feel better.
helps.
I feel like words can't help, to be honest.
But what I'm saying is, okay, so it sounds like, from a listener's standpoint, sounds like you guys were a family full of faith, right? And you guys kind of said like it was almost like taboo for you guys to be like, she might pass away, we got to prepare for that, like it was something that it was unspoken, but it almost felt like unallowed to happen in the house. And when that happens, I feel like an analogy could be like the rug just got pulled from under you. Like, you're falling. Like, there's nothing you could do about it. She passed away. Now you got to deal with it. You weren't processing it as you went. So now what I'm saying is, if somebody is going through that, obviously words, it's hard, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing for the person that's going through it to accept it, be open to it, but it's another thing for you guys or for anybody to say the right words. But what I'm saying is, what posture do you guys take in regards to, don't worry about it, keep praying? Or are you like, hey, if you have kids, like prepare them, or like how do you balance it might not work out for you? Like,
I think I think being very truthful is all you need, because like, you have to take so many how can you say, like, scenarios into play. And I think you have to I think with me, what helped was like I went through those scenarios in my head multiple times. So I think once it happened, I was like I knew I was gonna be heartbroken. I knew this was gonna happen, but at least it didn't just shock me. Like I was like I knew I was gonna go through this.
You mentally prepared.
Yeah, so I think giving them that advice of like, hey, you need to mentally prepare for the worst. Like think of the worst things possible when they pass,
But hope for the
and like
best.
and like prepare for that, but still hope for the best, and like spend quality time being with them. Like no matter what, don't like always have that quality time with them, sharing it with them, like spending much love with them, but still prepare for the worst, no matter what.
I think I'm in the middle. I'm very much like, hey, like I still believe that God does miracles. Like I always tell them, like, even though with whatever we went through, like I still believe that he can perform a miracle. But yeah, like enjoy this time with your parent, like do all the things that you can possibly, or with whoever, like do the things that you want to do. But pray, like, and feel. I always tell people, feel what you need to feel. Like, don't ever feel like I have to feel this and I'm not feeling, get upset with yourself. Like, I feel like grief, you have to take it the way it comes. Like, it goes through waves. Like, it really, really does. And so just allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling. If you're feeling pissed off, feel pissed off. Like, don't let yourself, like, restrain that. If you feel like, I'm still happy for some reason, let yourself feel that way. Like, I think there's a lot of guilt that happens while you're grieving, or you feel like I'm supposed to feel this way and all that stuff, but just allow yourself to feel whatever you need to feel. I always tell them that. And yeah, have faith, have hope, but do everything you can with that person because you don't know.
And I think it's such telling the person who's actually the one dying,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
so
that's so
hard.
different.
Because, I think one of the reasons why my mom didn't want like to write letters for us if she passed is like a fear, right? Like there's a fear of hoping that doesn't happen to me, like not knowing what's going to happen when you die. So I don't know if I would have the guts to tell the person who's actually dying that, but yeah, I think the people around them, to be honest, having my mom pass away made me a little bit more pessimistic. But I think it's biblical too. Like it says, never take anything granted, and don't ever say like, yes, tomorrow's going to happen. It's like if God is willing. And we have to remember, I think part of having faith is God is sovereign. And unless God told you like 100% that this is going to happen, like we can hope and pray. But it stems also, I think, from a lot of our background, at least that we can speak of, is very like Pentecostal, like prosperity based, where it's like, God is going to do this, God is going to do that. Like, did he tell you?
Yeah.
Because God can do a miracle on the other side of heaven.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And God can work so much greater and bring glory through her death. And so you expecting it to be a certain way is not having faith in the God that is sovereign. Like, and so place your hope and faith in God and not the scenario of how you expect it. But yeah, like telling a person that it's iffy, because when you're grieving or already scared of what's to come, sometimes you just want to feel what you want to feel, like what's comfortable there, because it's so scary what's happening. So having to tell someone that, like, shake them up, like they might not be ready to listen to it. But any parent, I think whether you're healthy or not, we should, and like we should do a trust fund, like getting prepared, because to be honest, you don't even have to be sick. Like something can happen as you're walking down the street, and it's just good to be prepared, because this is in our home. So to live like if we're going to be permanently here is very ignorant of us. And so just prepare, knowing we're going to leave this place, because this is not where we're meant to be.
Yeah, and I think from a logical standpoint, somebody does have to have that conversation with A, the person that's going through it, and B, the family. Of like what Jesse said, is basically just, it's like having insurance. Like just in case something happens, like make sure that you got your ducks in order. Like make sure that your kids are taken care of. And it's hard, like especially like I'm assuming from your mom's standpoint, like she was maybe afraid. Like if I'm writing this letter, it doesn't mean that I'm giving up. You know, if I'm writing this letter to my kids, you know, does it mean like I'm already bye guys? Like, and it's scary, but I do believe, and this might be a little insensitive, but like I do believe it is part of their responsibility. They're still a parent. They got kids, you know, like then they're gonna leave their kids, not willingly obviously, but they're gonna leave their kids in grief. And so like how can you as a parent take up that responsibility of, let me make it a little lighter on my kids. Let me write a note that like makes them feel like I'll be okay, it's fine. you know? But yeah, that's
No,
my
I
opinion.
agree.
That's a good point.
Every parent, write your letters.
Please.
What do you think was the? Well, I mean, you grieved too, so feel free to like talk about it because you.
I don't talk about that stuff.
P.S. He cried like a baby.
You like loved her. I feel like she was the only
Yeah.
one who understood you from the get go.
She's trying to make you cry.
Stop it.
No, but it's because if you guys know my.
I'm in the process of finding a counselor, so I'll talk to them about this.
actually.
Oh, really? About it?
No, just like
Oh,
alone.
just-
Like he's never had a counselor alone.
Okay.
In his marriage, and he wants to do one for himself, which
Got
I
it.
think is awesome.
I'm proud of you, bro.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, feel free because yeah, if you guys don't know, my husband is a very special person where people like get rubbed the wrong way. Is that how you say it? Like you just are rough around the edges, and people get the wrong impression of him until they know his heart. They're like, oh, okay, like he's the real deal.
Yeah.
But before then, he can come off a little bit,
Special.
special. But my mom from the beginning, like it's crazy how from the beginning she just knew your heart. Like
Yeah.
there was no let me get to know him. It was I see you. I know that you come like you're broken.
Okay, talk about this is about you guys. Stop it.
No, he's straight up. No,
I'm
but
asking the questions.
feel free. I want you to feel free too because you grieved too. Like
Yeah,
you
you did.
lost her too.
Yeah.
Like
Do
she's
you
your
feel like it
mother-in-law.
was a really hard place to be because you had to grieve, but you felt like you weren't allowed to fully grieve because you had to take care of someone that like that
Was
was like
grieving.
it was her.
I didn't think about that. I
No?
just immediately thought I had to be there for my wife.
So you didn't allow yourself to grieve.
It's not that I didn't allow myself, but I'm like, I just came into the picture, like it was very special the way that, she loved me and she saw me. But I'm like, I'm not going to sit here crying like a little baby and then just like not being able to like support my wife when it's like her mother that she's been with for 20x years. It's just like, how am I going to sit here like, I'm feeling the same way. You console me.
No, but you
No,
still
but-
are. You should.
Yeah,
I think it's
I mean,
not fair for you to be like, okay, I can't.
I had my moment or moments, but it's like I'm not gonna sit there and dig myself a hole and be like, Grace, I'm in a hole.
Yeah.
You're just like, this is my mom. What are you talking about?
But I think it's okay to
Yeah.
to feel that way still. Just
Maybe you should.
But I do think that's
But
a
yeah.
very interesting place because
Yeah.
thankfully I haven't had to like console my spouse through something like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like it'd be so like difficult to
when you
like
love them
you're
so
going
close.
through something too, but you're also like that they're priority. Yeah, that's something that is probably really hard.
And it would be hard for you too, because you grew up with your
Oh yeah, if it was my
your
in-laws,
mother-in-law,
yeah.
So
I'll be messed up. So
another-
don't leave soon, please.
Kevin's just like twiddling his thumb like, this is my mom.
No, yeah. It'll be a very crazy moment when that does happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully late in the future.
yes.
Yeah.
So what was your question, babe?
Oh, I was gonna ask, what do you think was the hardest part of grief? Because I don't think we've ever mentioned this, but we all saw her actually die.
Like cold.
Like she was breathing. Like she,
Guys are just
He said like cold, like you did not.
they're clearly using comedy as a relief.
and
Oh
trust
my
me,
God.
my mom was the same way. She'd be in the hospital bed,
Yeah, cracking
cracking
jokes.
up, and the doctor's like bringing in bad news, and they're making the doctor laugh.
Yeah.
Like she was
she was
always.
She always had her like
Comedic.
music too, like in the background. She's like dancing while they're like,
Yeah, like you would
operating
have
her. She's
never
like,
guessed she had stage 4 cancer if you walked into that room.
100%.
Ma'am, this is your last day. It's cool. It's all good.
Stop saying the Heavenly Father, bro.
So we are replicas, okay?
Yeah.
We're little hers. But no, so I've never seen anyone die before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's
the
crazy.
first person seen die being your mom, that is pretty heavy. And again, we saw her breathing what's called like the death breaths, which
Yeah.
haunt me
Yeah.
till this day.
It's like a death rattle.
Do
I
you
think
like
that's
see
what
it in
they call
detail?
Yeah,
Like,
I hate it. Every time
I can like remember. It's like low-key
Really?
scary. Yeah.
Yeah, I
like I
hate
can
it.
remember like her last breath and then like how it.
Oh, yeah, I
literally
remember that
sunk in.
moment.
Yeah.
And I hate it. And so I'm assuming it's traumatic. You can see we're traumatized.
David, like,
He's on the side if you guys see. He's just,
disclaimer. You have to put this in the video. I'm telling you.
If you're not comfortable, yeah, just
Yeah,
I
get
know,
off
I'm
the
sorry.
video. But so that's pretty traumatic that we were in there.
Do you think we actually got some version of like PTSD? Or I think like triggering
Oh, I'm
for
sure.
sure. I think that's pretty traumatic.
Sometimes I don't like to say it because I know people like with PTSD is like sometimes great, but I go through.
It's a form of trauma for sure. Like to be in the room with your mother while she's like going through like her last breaths and like they're not regular breaths.
No,
they're
it's
like she's
traumatic.
not conscious anymore. It's
Oh, I'm
just
gonna cry.
her body's going through, like the end. And then to see her like the last like breath, like I think that's pretty traumatic.
No, it was traumatic. It was like from a scary movie.
And I remember like,
Do you have tissues?
It's from a scary movie.
It was horrible. I hated it.
yeah, and I remember
I'll just hold them.
Grace just wouldn't let go of her, and everyone was just like, she's gone.
Yeah,
let go, and she's
all
like,
grieved.
no.
We all went through that moment very difficult, like different. Like I walked out. I remember I literally could not. Like I remember I was.
I ran. I took a run.
Really?
I swear, I literally like
I don't know
went
where
like
you went.
two. Like I literally went to the park and like
Really?
all like I ran. Like I was like I can't be here. I like told like someone like I need to run and like they're like run and I literally and it was sprinkling too. So I just like booked it.
Really?
And literally,
Dang,
I
I
was just
never knew
running
that.
and I think like
I didn't know that
I think that
either.
was like me like trying to like.
Get it out of your
psychological.
body,
Like I think it was me getting out of my body, and, like escaping like the problem.
Oh.
And then I had to come back, and I was like, and then like and I remember just coming back in, and like the whole atmosphere was just different.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I
didn't
legitimately
know
took a
that.
run.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
I didn't know that. I know someone, I don't remember who said, I'm so sorry when it happened. And I was like, no.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, I was just remember like, no. Like I just kept saying no. And then I remember I walked out and I was like just immediate denial. And I was crying for a while. And I think in like 20 or 30 minutes, I was laughing. Like I went through like a big shift. But I remember when I came back to the room, you were still there.
No,
I was like, how is she in this room still? Like I do remember that.
I do remember. I was thinking. I wasn't like not conscious. I feel like people were worried about my mental state. Like, is she there? Like, did she go crazy for a little bit?
I thought you did.
But
I thought she went crazy.
You thought so too?
Oh, dang.
Because how you
Did you stay in the room with her? Oh, dang.
I came in
She
like
just wouldn't move.
Yeah.
It didn't matter.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna cry.
Like there was, I think Didi Joanna came in, like, let her go. And sometimes she wouldn't respond, or sometimes she'd be, no. And she'd like tighten up. Like, there's no moving her.
Yeah.
And that was pretty scary.
I think I'm like crying because I imagine myself as a mom. Like, you know how Raya is so attached to me.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And then just like if I leave the room, she's like, Mommy, you know? And so I think I knew like this is the last time I'm gonna see her. And I knew like as soon as I leave, like that's it. And so I was trying to like memorize her lunares on her face. Like I was trying to just like take it all in because I knew this is the last moment. Like I don't after this I can't see her anymore. So yeah, it was definitely traumatic.
Yeah.
So would you guys say that was the worst part? This is gonna be an emotional moment.
it's like
I'm so
it's just
sorry.
different.
You need to do like a disclaimer
I'm
before
telling
the
you.
video. Like
We're not crazy. We're just
these people are messed up.
oh crap.
We should do an intro for this, but we have an older sister, Mercy, in Texas, and we would have loved to have her here.
Yeah.
We might have to do another when she comes visits, but we do have an older sister. There's 4 of us. But so do you guys think that was the difficult thing about what we went through, or do you think it was after? Like, because I know how you said grief comes in so many different waves. So what was the hardest part for you guys?
I think I told you this, Mello, but I think for me it was after actually. Like I was her, of course, when she died, but I think for me the hardest part was living after that. Like, but it was like when it was like way like when
years later.
like years later when I was like fine, and then it was when like Dad got married or like everything just went
Different,
straight to
changed.
like to my life, and that's when I was like, where the heck is Mom? Like I literally was just like, I need Mom back, and it was super hard for me to live without her at that time. Yeah. But it was like, the grieving started like afterwards, in my opinion. Because I was like at peace. I was like, okay, she's at a better place. Like I'm gonna see her soon. Like I was like mentally like preparing. But then later on, I was just like, where the heck is she? Like everything just went like gone.
Yeah.
So.
I think there was multiple like hard parts. I remember when we found out the news, like how severe it was. I took it hard. I remember I went on a walk, same neighborhood that we were in, and that's when I came back and I was like, I'm shaving my head, and I literally felt like it was me mourning. And I did it, and I just remember like that moment was really difficult getting the news. I did a lot of taking care of her while she was sick.
Yeah.
And so I did see a lot of traumatic stuff in that process. That was not easy. I think I have definitely some PTSD from those moments. I'm also grateful for those moments because I had some very intimate moments where I was showering my mom and she hadn't shaved in forever. And I remember like I was shaving her toes and I was like, Mom, I have hair there too. Like I thought like I'm not alone. I just remember like a very like intimate moment, but it was like I just got to see her body and see what was like I'm like you in this area and things like that. And I remember she would always be like, she liked the way I took care of her because I always acted like nothing was wrong. And so she's like, I like when you like shower me and things like that because I was just very like kind of rough with her. So she wasn't like, I don't feel so fragile around you. And she kind of liked that. And so I liked those moments, but they were definitely not easy.
And you were young. Do you guys want to say how old you were?
Oh, yeah. Oh, when we found out the news?
No, when you were taking care of her like that. And when she passed, it was around the same.
The taking care of stage was more...
Earlier.
Later for me. In the beginning, I took care of her when she, did get her surgeries, but I wasn't... There was other people that were helping her more, so I wasn't that off there around that much. But towards the end was when I got it the most. So during that, I was like around 19 years old. Like, I honestly felt like it was... We were doing like hospice care.
What was hospice? They released her.
Yeah,
officially
but,
to her home.
The nurses weren't doing that stuff. We were taking care of everything else for the most part. So we did the showering. We had to feed her. I remember she didn't want to eat, so we had to buy like medicine, cannabis. We had to buy cannabis oils and put it on her feet to try to get her appetite up. I remember when she would complain and like she didn't want anything. I remember like the week before I think it was me, Kevin, and Karen. I don't know if you were there. We would like watch movies in her room because I had to like constantly check up on her. So we would just hang out in the room to like be pendiente. I remember going to work and coming back and I felt like we had shifts. So I would come back from work and take care of her. And then it was my time to go to sleep. And then like Titi Joanna or my dad would take a shift. And then it would be like that. And I just remember every single day expecting a call, like just being super like, what's going on? And then we did get the call while we were at work. And then
I was home.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I should have gone to school that time, but for some reason I was like, I'm gonna just stay. And then literally I was there like literally like
I don't know this stuff.
No, yeah, I was literally home. And then I remember like just it was like kind of a regular time, like but something felt off. Like I could kind of sense the atmosphere, like something was off. And then my dad calls me, he's like, Jesse, like mom's not doing good. And I was like, okay. And literally, I was like the first one. He's like, Jesse, you need to go into the room and like tell her to fight. And like I remember, I was like one of the first people there, and I was like telling her, he's like, oh, I remember the words. He's like, Belinda. He's like, your Adonai's here, like Jesse's here. And I was like, Mom, fight. Like I was literally like the first one like telling her like to fight, and like I was like seeing it all happen. And then I remember everyone trickling in like slowly, and I like that's why I think I had to run because I left the house multiple times because I was like, it was just so much pressure in that house.
Well, how old were you?
I was 16, so like barely like in high school. And yeah, I was just like, literally, I was like, a part of me regretted staying there because I was like, I could have been in school, like not thinking about this. But then I was like, I wouldn't have known about it. Yeah. So it was very like hard.
I think that's a really hard place to be. Yeah. Like, I remember my dad, asking us to speak. But I didn't know that you had already previously, like, felt the pressure of having to keep her around. I don't think that... I know my dad was just trying to do what he was doing, like... But that's a horrible position to be in. Yeah. Sorry that happened to you. That's all right. Yeah. That's horrible.
Yeah, I think my dad... I mean, I can't even imagine, right? Like, he knew her... They got married since they were 17, so her whole life, I can't imagine what that loss feels like. Yeah. And so I know he did it from a place of, well, he loves God and has so much faith in God, and he loved my mom. And I was grateful for Mercy, because I think she was the first one. My older sister was the first one in that room that was like, okay, let's screw what my dad says. Like, Mom, if you want to go, go. And like, we were all thinking it, I think, because we were seeing her and she was suffering. Like, at that point, she was pure suffering. There was no, oh, she's not feeling it. Like, we can all see with our eyes. Like, it's time. And we were all like kind of worried, like, to step on my dad's toes. Like, should we keep praying? Should we, keep telling her to fight for us? We were really all in the room. And then my older sister was just like...
She was brave.
She was like, go, Mom. Like, we're going to be okay. Like, you go. And then it took my dad a bit. And finally, he was like, okay. Like, he accepted it. And I feel like when he accepted it, like, that's when she passed.
Yeah. I remember, like, we were going down the line of talking to her.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I don't know if you guys remember this, but I remember she was going through, like, the death rattle. And she was just trying to breathe. But when you spoke to her, that was like the one time where she like tried to look at you. I remember her like physically trying to like, I felt in that moment, she was like, that's my baby that's left. Like the rest of us are already older. But I remember her just like trying to look at him. And that was like the last thing that I remember, like her effort.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I'm forever grateful for Mercy saying like, hey, we need to let her go. Because then I was like, I was able to like, okay, I can let her go. Even though it, didn't prepare us fully. But it did help, like, just being able to start, like, okay, we have to be okay. And I think it was selfish of us to be like, don't leave, Like, we were just trying to grieve or, like, deal with it. But I think it was the most selfless thing for her to say, like, it's okay. Yeah. And I'm very grateful for her for doing that. But, yeah, I think that stage was definitely hard. And then I had a stage where I felt like I went through grief really good. I handled it well, in my opinion. And then there was one time I was already married. I think I was like a year or 2 years married. And I was going through it. I don't know what was happening that day. And I was mad. I didn't know that I had anger at her. I was pissed off. I remember like yelling and like my husband just sitting next to me. And I'm just yelling like, why did you have to leave? And why'd you wait to go to the doctors? Why did you like, I'm like, I literally was like, are you stupid? Like, who waits to go to the doctor? Like, I just remember yelling at her. And it was hard to deal with loving somebody and being that pissed off and knowing like she's not there to actually like hear it. But it helped me let go of that anger. I had to release it. And it allowed me to just like not feel guilty anymore. Because I did feel guilty. I remember when she told me like she had a lump. I remember that day when she told me like, hey, feel this? And I was like, you should get that checked. And she's like, no, we're good. Like, and I was just like, okay. Like, and I'm like, I wish I like was like, Mom, no, you like have to like, or tell somebody else, another adult, hey, my mom is dealing with it. Like, make her go to the doctor. Like, I don't know. I know I did whatever I thought was best at that moment. But I felt guilty that I didn't like force her. And I think that was like a year prior. So there was a lot of guilt of like, what if she found it sooner? And I know it's not my fault. I know. But I had to like get pissed at her. I did. And I had to allow myself to feel whatever I had to feel. And that was like probably, she already been gone for like 5 years or so. Wow. So it's like, when I say grief is a wave, it is, you get hit at different stages. And I don't think, like people say like time heals all wounds. That's like the biggest lie in the universe. I don't think so. But I do think you begin to have like a new normal. And yeah, I don't think about her that often anymore. I think that's my brain protecting itself. I just don't. And when I do, I allow myself to feel it. But it's definitely different. Grief looks different now than it did before. Yeah. 1000%.
Yeah. I think for me, the hardest was finding out I was pregnant because it was 1 month after she passed. And I wished it was like in different circumstances where I was happy, like where I was like looking forward to this. And I just like the first thing I remember is like, great, my mom's not even here. Like I remember she always told me, when you go to college, like you can get married and go to, because she knew I wanted to get married young. So when you get married and go to college, I'll watch your babies. Like when you're working, I'll watch your babies. And so being pregnant, I was just like, oh, like this timing. And I think what was hard for me is they say whatever you feel, the baby feels. So I immediately was trying, okay, don't think about grief. Like I definitely suppressed so many emotions for the sake of the baby. But when he was born and he was like a year old, like I was just a bitter, like mean person. And that's not me. I'm like really nice, patient. And David's like, maybe you should go like seek help.
Maybe you need some help.
But were you just like bitter at life, or like to her, or to yourself? Like, how do you feel? Like, what do you mean by bitter?
Well, I think I didn't even register like it was her, but I would just be short with David. I was just negative about everything. Like I couldn't see like what was good about life.
Yeah.
And so I think what helped me process it was I did get a therapist. I think Elijah was 1 year old, and we broke it down. And there were things where I'm like, why is she making me do this? Like, I remember I had to pretend my mom was sitting like across from me and like tell her how you feel right now. And I'm just like, this is like silly. Like, I don't want to do this. And she's like, go tell her. And I had to like tell her that like how I felt. That's where I realized that my faith probably made me process it worse. Like that idea of God's going to do it, God's going to do it, God's going to do it, and not allowing myself to feel.
Yeah.
And then thankfully, because I went 1 year when Elijah was 1 year old, that was when my dad was about to remarry. And so I was able to talk to her about that process and really like sit down and tell her like what are my feeling about him, about her, and just really air it out. So I think that helped me heal a lot. So I don't think post that I was in like a negative space when it comes to my mom. There are moments where it just hits me. And I remember one specifically, we went to the Dominican Republic because my mom she's Puerto Rican, and she always made arroz con gandules growing up, like almost always. And I would be annoyed, like, you know, like it's like the food every day.
It's so good though.
But when she
I
died,
know now it's so good.
when she died, like no one makes it like her.
Yeah, nobody.
No one.
That's why it's called soul food.
I can't cook. Yeah. I can't cook, so I don't make it. And like the family around me that does make it, well, the family that I have that does make it doesn't live around us.
I need to make it for you because I kind of learned how to
make
make
it. Yeah. So I went to the Dominican Republic, and they have very similar style of food. And I just remember seeing the food there, and I just looked at David and I started crying. And he's like, "What is happening? Like you're in a vacation. Like what's going on?" And I'm just like, "This is like what my mom used to do." And then you even started like crying, and you're like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "This is just so emotional." And I never thought that would trigger me. Like you don't think about it. And recently, I think I told you one of the hardest things for me was this past anniversary, February 10th. Like it hit me so hard because I forgot. Like every year I remembered.
Oh yeah, we all forgot.
Single year.
Bro, that was actually legit crazy.
We all forgot.
Steph reminded me. And she's like, you know what, your mom? She's like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, why? And she's like, it's your mom's anniversary. I was like, oh crap. I was like, dang.
Every single year we remember. And this year is the 7th year we forgot. Like no mention of her ever at all until the night. I'm like, Melody, I like texted you and I was like, I feel so guilty. And you were like, don't be hard on yourself. And I'm like, no, like if we forget, who's gonna remember? Like,
oh wow.
I just remember thinking like my dad's married, so I understand his point of view, right? Like, so he's not going to. But I'm like, if we forget, who's gonna talk about it? Like, it's up to us to like continue her legacy. So I'm like praying I never forget again. Because
I put a reminder on my phone so I could never
took that really hard. I was like, how am I so, like in a good way, I'm glad I'm like finding my life and like happiness and joy, but I don't want to forget about her. Like, so that was hard for me recently. Yeah. And it was like 7 years later. So it's definitely waves. There's not an easy path. Would you like to share? Like, what did you find difficult?
What I found difficult?
Yeah.
I guess a little bit selfishly, what I found difficult would have been, I'm not very good with like emotions and like being able to help somebody process those emotions, especially when they're so extreme in regards to like crying. Usually when I have a crier in front of me, like, you're like, I'm just like what? Tapping them on their shoulder, like they're there. They're there. And it's like, and it's not because I don't feel for them, and it's not because it's just because I really don't know how to process it. I've had other friends years back, like I remember we were playing video games and he got a call that his cousin in Guatemala or something like that passed away. I had no idea what to say. And I sat there in silence.
Yeah.
And I felt like an idiot. Like I'm such a bad friend because I didn't even say like there, like sorry for your loss. Like, because, and also like, I just feel like those words are just words that you say out of like tradition. Like, and I think we're kind of similar in regards to like, we usually don't say things that we don't feel. Right. So if I'm like, I'm sorry and I don't really feel sorry, like, then I feel like a hypocrite. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, it's just the right thing to say, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and so that was the hardest part for me, like having her go through the process. And I'm like feeling like a failure, I guess, or feeling like bad. Like, I don't know how to help her. I wish I could help her.
Yeah.
But sometimes she would just tell me like, I just need you to hold me. And I'd be like, I could do that.
Yeah.
You know, like, but it's like the words part, the verbal part, the like emotional verbal stuff. I'm like, I suck at that.
Yeah.
You know?
So, we've talked about the bad parts of grief.
What are the best parts of it?
Wait. I got a question though.
Yeah, go for it.
You guys did talk about trauma, right?
Yeah.
You talked about, you know, how you were in the room first.
Yeah.
You talked about how you took care of your mom, and you were just stuck on her. If you guys were, let's say, in your dad's shoes, but knowing what you guys know now, but having, let's say, 4 kids, how would you have managed the whole situation from the moment that the mother, you know, finds out that she's got cancer to the point that she takes her last breath? Because, I mean, you say that you basically can hear, you know, the breaths. You do the same thing. Like, you guys all have some sort of trauma, and is that nice to have? I don't think so. Do you guys regret it? I'm pretty sure you guys would all say no. I don't regret it because you were there, right? But you now, as putting yourself in your dad's shoes, how would you guys have done it differently? Like, how would you have protected your kids in that instance, or how would you protect your kids in that instance?
That's a hard question.
That's a super hard question.
Because, like I said, you were doing things for your mom. And if I asked you right now, do you regret it?
No.
No, you were there helping her. You did your part. You did everything possible to like help your mom. But then again, like,
it brought trauma.
It brought trauma, you know, like.
Yeah. There's a family on TikTok that I saw a little bit. I couldn't watch too much, but the mom passed away from cancer, but she went through the entire journey like through TikTok, and they showed her talking to her kid about what was going to happen to her. She talked about it, like, and he's like 5 or 4 years old.
I think I know who you're talking about.
And
I couldn't see that.
The husband, she has now passed away, and the husband talks about like now how things have happened at home and now everything is now. And they're a faith-based family, so, you know, they've been very strong, I feel like, with a lot of peace. But I liked their approach where they were just super honest. I think it actually protects your kid more when you prepare them. Like, you always prepare your kids for anything that's going on.
Yeah.
I think that's the smartest way to do things.
Yeah.
I think because he was trying to protect us and shelter us and also give us faith and like, you know, I don't think that it's not wrong to know the truth and still have faith. Like, you know, they can go hand in hand. But I think to explain that, like, we believe that God can do miracles, but we also know that this earth isn't eternal. We also believe that God does miracles on the other side of this earth. This is going to happen possibly, and just like full on explain it and allow the kid to start grieving then, because then they can talk to their mom and actually like, this is going to suck, and have those memories of like, okay, this is how she consoled me through it. So I think I would just be a lot more brutally honest. I think I would let them help probably just with maybe more limited stuff, because not things that I regret, because I'm grateful that I was able to have those moments with my mom, but there is also trauma that wasn't necessary, that like there's certain smells that I can't smell without getting triggered. There's things of that nature where it's just like nobody has to go through that. So I think I would just let them help to a certain degree. Also, age-wise, I think that changes. A little kid shouldn't be doing the same thing as a 16-year-old, 20-year-old, like, you know. But I just think being brutally honest and trying to explain it as best as you can. And yeah, I don't know. That's the way I think I would approach it.
No, I agree with you.
Do you think your mom's age played a role in the impact of it? Like, has she been 75, would it have had the same impact?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think age did.
I think age did.
Yeah.
Because we all were in different. I think for me personally, if she was older, I would have been older and didn't have to go through things I went through. And I think
There's so much life that happens in the beginning of your life that, like, getting married stage, having kids stage, like all of that would just have been like, I have her, and you need less of your parents. You still love them and want them and need them, but you need less of them as you get older.
Yeah.
And so I think we still needed a lot of mom.
100%.
And so that's why it was, I think, even harder to go through that.
Yeah. And I think even seeing her be strong and full of life and a powerhouse, and then seeing her so weak she can't get up is within a year. Like, she went hiking that summer, and then in the fall was already like so weak. Like, it's so fast that it kind of shakes your world around, and you're like, what is like, you can't even process it. I think is difficult because she was 40.
No, yeah.
She was 43.
She was young. She was super. Yeah.
Oh well, she just had her birthday, right? Like,
I think she was 43. Like, that was her 43rd year.
Did anybody ever express or like explain the process to you guys? Like, let's say I always go back to the analogy of Grace having a kid, right? We went to a Lamaze class, so they explained like, here's phase 1, here's phase 2, here's phase 3. And I always think, like, when you fully prepare for what's about to happen, like, you're not like, oh my gosh, like the rug got, yeah. Like, you're mentally, like you guys said, you're mentally prepared. But did anybody sit down with you guys? Like, because I know, who was it? Was it Mercy that sometimes would go to the doctors with her?
Yeah, Mercy. I went like
older.
I think she went the most. I went a couple of times, but it was usually just kind of like hold my mom's hand. It wasn't until
I just went to like the radiology sessions. But I think it was heavily filtered. Like, when she would go into a surgery, or before, and explaining us of why the surgery has happened, it was very filtered through like my dad and Titi Joanna. So I never knew the gravity of it. And I know Titi Joanna also like battled of how much should I tell them? Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm gonna tell you. I think she told us the most information with Mercy. Because my dad was just trying to very like coddle us. I think he was in denial too, though.
Yeah. No, Titi Joe for sure. Like, I remember hearing not the worst news, but
Titi Joe is my mom's sister. They're like twins, basically. They're Irish twins. Yeah.
So I think, I remember hearing, like, whenever there was, like, a bad news, it was from Titi Jo, because I think she had the most, like, courage and, like, the opportunity to be like, hey, guys, this is going to happen. And, like, she was, like, always upfront with me. She's like, Jay, this is going to happen. Like, mom's going through this. And I was like, okay. Like, it helped me to understand, like, okay, this is happening.
Yeah. She did tell us
that. It happened still super quickly, because, like, when you said one day she was, like, fine, and another day she was it. And I was like, wait, what? Like,
or if someone did tell us, it didn't stay in our memories. It definitely wasn't like a doctor. It wasn't like, hey, like, or a psychologist to sit down with us and like go through that.
But they didn't even tell us the process of like, okay, with stage 4 cancer, this is what it looks like. Yeah, like, this is what she has to go through, radiation. Like, it was just kind of like, oh, she's gonna have a surgery now, and boom, she's in the surgery, and she's fine. And it seemed like after the first surgery, like, everything's okay. And we kind of forget about it a little bit. And then, boom, another surgery. And you're just like, wait. I thought, like, did you guys know this? Like there was, it was just as it happened.
Yeah, because I do remember you guys telling me, well, you told me, like, oh, she's got stage 4. And I'm like, what does that mean? Yeah. And you were like, well, that's the worst one.
Yeah, we just knew kind of that stuff. Yeah. I did remember, like, them saying, like, oh, it spread this, like, to this area, and it spread this, and I was like, okay, like, this is horrible, this is bad, like, this is not good. So I feel like I knew the information, but I didn't know. I don't know. I feel like, again, I feel like I knew the information, but to, like, fully explain, hey, you're gonna see your mom probably really good, but then she's gonna go really bad. Yeah. And then she's gonna. I remember the day when they said the thing that, like, this is the death rattle. That means that death is coming by. I was just like, okay, like, it warned us that it's right around the corner, but we were still like, but God can do a miracle. Like, God can do a miracle, and so we were just still in denial. Yeah. So I don't think anybody really walked through that. I think that would also be my tip: is probably have some therapy with someone that can actually walk through what it could look like, and probably just get more tools from people that have gone through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when your mom passed away, what was your biggest battle after? Was it faith? Was it I'm walking away from faith? Was it like you said 5 years later you were mad at your mom? Like, were you mad from the very beginning? Like, what was your biggest battle after she passed away?
How much do you want to hear? Okay.
Oh, you can share your sure you're comfortable.
For sure, it was the biggest battle, which was ironically, but I love you guys, but it was actually you guys. That was my biggest battle, just because I think I was going through. I felt alone, and I felt like no one was really there to like help me pick up the pieces, and especially Dad, who like me and him became close, and I feel like he was ripped out. So then I was like, okay, and then that's when the whole like, where's Mom? Because she was my best friend at the time. Like whenever I had any feelings, whenever I like would fight with you guys, I would always go and I'm like, Grace and Melody acting like this, and then she's like, okay, like you have to be strong, like that's okay, like it's all right. Like she would always be my best friend, and it was funny because she kind of taught me how to be a man. She's like, look, you have to be strong. She's like, wipe your tears. Like she's like, you can cry here, however long it takes. She's like, but you have to wipe your tears, be strong, and then you can go out and present yourself. And I was like, okay. So I'll like cry a little bit and I'll leave. So losing that, and then my dad not being there, like when I needed him the most, it hurt. And then like you guys were going through your own life, which I totally respect and loved. But there was a point where I literally would be like, hey, I need help, or I would go to like each person, each family member, and like no one had an answer for me of where I was going with. And I was like, okay, I lost my family now. Like I literally felt alone. And I think my biggest battle was trying to hold to my family with pre-mom, trying to hold on to that family memory pre-mom. But then I had to remember everything's different now. And I think I prayed the most of like, God, I was like, God, I need like my family, or I need to start anew. I need to feel love, because I didn't feel love. And then I think that's when he blessed me with Stephanie, because because literally with Stephanie was like, she would like, she helped me like Stephanie's my fiance, by the way. She helped me like take out feelings and emotions I never knew. She's like, why do you feel this way? And I was like, I don't want to answer, but like I would answer her. And I remember telling her, I was like, I hate my family. Like I remember literally word for word saying, I hate my family. And she's like, why? And I was like, because I feel alone. Like they're not here for me. And again, it's not your guys' fault, but I felt that way because I was going through high school and then I was working, and I was like, I don't know how to do this life. Like, what is taxes? What is like a 401k? What's like, I have all these questions and no one's there to answer. So Steph was the only thing that was like holding me together, and she was like, it's gonna be okay. And like years, she's like, she told me, she's like, your family's going through the same thing you're going through. And that made me like have peace with you guys. And like that was finally like, there was a moment I didn't want to talk to any of you guys. Like whenever there was a family moment, I was like, I don't want to be there. Yeah. And then finally I was like, there was a point where I was like, I told her, I was like, I miss my family. And like I think I was at peace knowing like we're all okay. But like, yeah, it took a lot. It literally, for sure, the battle was like with you guys, ironically, and it was like after Mom passing.
Thank you for telling us. Yeah. I'm glad you told us.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
No, I love you guys. I love you so much, but it was like my own thing I had to go through.
Yeah, I think it was kind of the same for me. I was trying to be my mom when she passed away, because Mercy married off. So it was just me, Jesse, and my dad on to the next place. And like, you had to confront me, but I was trying to be like everything for everybody. And I was trying to be the glue. I was trying to like unify the family. And I was just super like always there. And then when Dad got married, that changed everything again. Because I think we had kind of established like, okay, we're good. We're like the trio. We were like, we were okay.
Traveling together.
No,
yeah, we were doing pretty good, us three. And then just the shift of, okay, now my dad is a husband for someone that we're getting to know, and he's now like spending less time because he's, getting married and everything. It was like we were trying to cling on to each other, but we needed parents, and we didn't have that. And we were like, yeah, it was really hard. And then I left to Australia. And that was so difficult for me. I remember like having a talk with the Castros. And I was like, I don't want to go. Like, you inspired me to go because you were like, what's holding you back from like doing something with your life? Because I was just working and had nothing. And I was like, my car. Like, I have to pay off my car. And you're like, that's what's going to hold you back. And I was like, okay, that's true, you know? And then I was like, but Jesse, like, I have to take care of Jesse. Like, who's going to take care of him? Who's going to, like, feed him? Who's literally going to take him to school? Like, I was driving him. I was feeding. Like, I was taking care of him. And I remember I was with the Castros, and they're like, you need to be a little selfish and do your life. Like, when he sees that you are pushing yourself forward and you're doing something with yourself, it's going to inspire him in the future. And, like, you have to go and, like, don't stay behind because of him. Like, and I was like, okay. And so I was like, I'm going to have to go. Like, I want to do this. And, like, he's not my responsibility. He's not my son. He's my brother. And, like, I want to be there, but I have to do my life still. And it was so difficult for me. And then I left. And while I was in Australia, that's when Dad got married. I, like, came back for, like, the break, and my dad got married. And then I left again. And then when I came back, like, life had shifted. I came back to, like, oh, where is our family? Like, it was before, yeah, everyone had their own thing, but we were still, like, we were grieving together, we were holding on together. And now it's, like, it's shifted and everything's different. And so we moved in together for, like, a little bit. And I was trying to, like, Jesse, like, we got each other and everything. I'm like, but this is first stage because I'm getting married. Like, and I remember it being so difficult. I was like, I have to get married and I'm going to do this. And like, I told him, I was like, you can stay with us. He's like, but I don't want to stay with you. Like, you're just getting married and, like, you didn't want to be in the house. And so I was just like, okay. So I was, like, trying to, like, fix everything. I was literally trying to fix all the situation while still trying to grieve and still process, like, this whole new life. And then I remember you and Stephanie sat me down and talked about, like, you're not my mom and I need you to, like, not be my mom. And I was just like, dang, like, I was just trying, like, I'm just trying to fix things. And as a two, I'm just trying to help. Like, even if I'm, like, bleeding out, I'm just trying to help everybody. And so I remember I was like, okay, like, I can't fix him. Like, I can't take care of him. I'm not mom. I'm not going to be able to do this. And so I think from that moment on, I try to, like, chill out and take my space. And I'm so grateful for your fiance. Like, I know she helped you so much. Like, that woman, she's a woman. Like, she did what nobody in the family could do. And she's beautiful inside out. Like, I love her so much. I actually had a couple of dreams of her, and I was like, if there were dreams of, like, this is the woman for Jesse, like, affirming it. I should probably tell her.
I know, right?
Well, Stephanie, you know.
Now you know.
Sometimes I remember telling my teacher in class, I was like, she's like, Stephanie's like she's a gift from mom. Because I knew, like, mom had to, like, pick someone so specific for me. Yeah. And, like, I appreciate her and, like, so much, and I love her, but I appreciate you, like, telling her that and telling me that.
Yeah.
And, like,
I'm so
her
grateful.
Yeah, like, you pulled yourself so thin, honestly. You were,
like,
I
was dying.
So like, literally, I would see it in your eyes. Like, I remember you would get mad at me, and, like, it would be, like, for little things, but I knew, like, through your eyes, you were going through so much more. Yeah. It was, like, even deeper things.
You're like, she's losing it.
No, I was. Because Mercy also left to Texas.
You're like, she's losing it.
That's when Mercy left to Texas. Yeah. And I drove Mercy out there with, like, we drove out there together. I tried to help her, like, establish that she was going through divorcing. Like, literally, I was trying to be everything for everybody. And I remember, like, just going through that and then going back home, and I'm like, I feel guilty that I'm not an aunt now to the girls. And I'm like, they don't have any family. And I would literally, like, FaceTime them, and I'd play literally hide and seek through FaceTime. And it would break my heart because I was like, like, being an aunt, I love my nephews and nieces so damn much. Like, there's literally, I love them so much. And I just felt so guilty robbing them from a childhood, like, with family. And so I would, like, try to FaceTime and play hide and go seek and, like, do whatever I could over the phone. But it was, like, breaking me. And I had to do therapy. And literally, like, the sessions that I did, all to hear just at the end, you can't change anybody. And you can't Like, just, you can't do anything about it. And I was like, that's true. Like, I'm doing all of this to make the impossible try to happen. It can't. And so it also, like, it hit me when my husband was like, I don't know what wife I'm coming home to because you're, like, all over the place. I was dealing with depression, trying to fix everything. And I was, like, not even there for him, who is my husband. And so when he confronted me, I was like, dang, like, I'm not even doing what I'm supposed to do as a wife. And so it made me step back and choose myself so I could then be who I needed to be for everybody else. I needed to, like, say no to things. I had to then be like, not take guilt that doesn't belong to me. And that's when I became very like, I'm not taking any responsibility for that. Like, that's not my business to deal with. I'm sorry, but, like, I can only deal with what I need to deal with. And I've become a lot more like, no, this is my business and that's that business, and I'm not gonna, like, meddle. And Kevin has been, like, the person that tell me, like, hey, no, that's too much. Like, and I need that because I will spread myself too thin if I don't take advice from anybody else. But I've had to learn how to take care of myself so I could then take care of other people, and I'm way better for it now. But yeah, I think that was a really hard stage, is figuring out the person you need to be without, like, I don't know, I feel like parents, they help you so much mold and to see that. And so just figuring out how to become an adult without having a parent was just very, very difficult. Becoming a grown-up, it's been hard. Yeah.
You gonna answer?
What was the hardest?
What was the biggest challenge for you after your mom passed away?
You guys had no faith issues?
Well, I did go through the whole, like, I went through what you said where I was like, I'm going to leave the faith now. Like, this is my time to go. Like,
I'm the only one not Christian?
No, I remember thinking that before. I was like, if my mom passes away, I'm leaving this faith. Like, God, you clearly don't got me. I'm out. And then I don't know what happened. He kept me.
No, I think
just in his peace.
Psych. No. We still good. We still good.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I told you, but for some reason, like, my faith was, like, opposite. Where, like, I was angry at God. Like, 100% I was angry at God. But, like, I remember going to Boston, and for some reason, I was, like, wrecked in the spirit, and, like, my faith was, like, on cloud 9. I was like, God, I feel you. Like, God, okay, like, I see you. Like, I'm like
He's
there.
close to the brokenhearted.
Yeah. No, so I was like, I needed that, but yeah, for honestly, faith, not that much, but
Yeah.
Solo yo.
But that's,
You struggled believing in him.
No, I knew he was real. Like, I couldn't not deny that.
yeah.
I just didn't like who he was.
Oh, yeah. I went through a little bit of that. But
And I do remember thinking, like, okay, yeah, if I go through something difficult, that's my moment. I mean, we grew up pastors' kids, if you guys didn't know.
Yeah.
So we've always had to be good, you know, like morally good.
Keep your testimony good.
Keep our testimony clean, that type of things. And I mean, we're good kids. Like, the worst we did, I mean, you guys did too. Just kidding.
I didn't do nothing bad.
I think it went from oldest to youngest. Like,
No. I did really bad.
So I remember using it as an excuse. Like, I can't wait to, like, lash out. And then you asked me, like, what did you want to do? And I'm just like, I don't know. I just didn't want to pretend anymore. Like, I just wanted to be my sinful self and, like, not care what anyone thinks, not putting up this facade. I don't think I had the guts to do that. I mean, I was married
To a Christian man, nonetheless.
Christian man. So, I mean, God knew what he was doing in that. But I was really, I already knew. So I went to, like, Bible college and, like, took theology classes before. So I knew already a lot about God. But, like, I just didn't like it. Like, I'm like, I know the facts, and I don't like that you operate this way. I don't like that your good has to be this way. I don't like that you... And I just kept thinking, because I think it was different because I already was a parent, where I'm like, I know from suffering produces glory, but it's like me purposely, like, putting my kid in time. I'm like, watch, haha, it's gonna be better when you're out. Like I wouldn't do that to my kid. So God, why are you doing that to me? And I would read, like, the Bible, and it would say, you know, Abraham never saw his promise. Moses never saw his promise. And I'm like, then what the heck? Like, why are we so gung-ho about legacy and, like, promise? Like, I'm not going to see it. Like, maybe my kid's not going to see it. And that's a sucky way to live. And, like, so pessimistic. Like, everything that was, like, good in God's word, I'd, like, twist it.
Wow.
And I couldn't even read my Bible. I think I told you, like, I didn't want to. It made me so mad. Like, these are the heroes of the faith. Like, all lived a crappy life. Like,
wow.
So I was so pessimistic. And I think I still carry a little bit of, like, because before my mom's death, everything was seeing it glass half full. Like, she taught us that. Everything was beautiful. There was joy in the dark places. I think after, I'm like, okay, that glass is half full, but if you look at it this way, it's empty, and like just showing the bad part of it. And I really struggled with that. Like, it was very hard to change. Sometimes I stopped to like catch myself and like, God, you're sovereign. I have no idea, but I know you're good, and really remind myself of that. Like, even if I wouldn't do it that way, like, you are doing it. That's the best way, obviously. You're doing it. But that was hard for me, getting out of that pessimistic mindset.
And that kind of answered my next question, because my next question is, how did the passing of your mom shift you? And kind of to elaborate a little bit on Grace, I don't know if you guys know, but, we've been trying to save, get out of debt, save for a house, save for the future. And the way that it shifted Grace was, there was one time, and that was the first time, and there's been more times, but she's like, stop selling me on this dream. You can't tell me I'm going to see this. Like, stop telling me it's a 3-year plan. I don't know if I'm going to live to see 3 years.
Yeah.
And so the way that she saw it was, she told me straight up, she's like, my mom was promised so many things and she didn't get to see none of it. So why am I supposed to be hung up on the promise that you have? Because I always go like, it's a 3-year plan. And she's like, well, I want to travel the world. I'm like, well, we're going to have to wait a little bit longer because we got kids right now and blah, blah, blah. When the kids are out of the picture, then we'll have all the money in the world to be able to go where. She's like, so you're telling me like what, 45, 50, you're going to take me around the world? Why am I going to wait? I don't even know if I have that time and blah, blah, blah. And like, you could see that how your mom's passing shifted her in that, where we've had to like talk about it and work it out. And we've kind of, I think, come to some sort of like conclusion or like
compromise.
Yeah, compromise. Because I there's no way that I can tell her like, no, you're crazy.
You for sure gonna live there.
Yeah, like there's no way I promise you're gonna see this. There's no way. And she's completely valid in thinking that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, well, we still got to plan for the future.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
And I think what kind of gave me, like, at least made me feel like, Grace, you have to change is like, I can't live in fear. Like, I know what I'm saying is there's truth, but if it's fear-based, that's automatically not from God. And so I had to, like, change my thinking. Like, okay, you're right, but don't live in fear. Like, plan, like, anything can happen, and give your life to God, not like, all right, I'm going to do this, but, like, out of fear or whatever.
Yeah.
And, I think that it messed me up.
I think this might sound so bad, but I don't mean it bad. It made me like a lot more okay with dying, because it was like, this life is hard anyways. Like, I don't mind bouncing from it. Like, I remember there was definitely stages where I was pretty suicidal. And yeah,
not something I laugh about.
If you are,
no,
we're gonna
please,
put the
no.
suicide hotline.
Yeah, please.
Please reach
It's not
out to
funny. It's
someone.
not funny. I'm sorry.
That's not funny.
I'm cutting that out. I'm cutting that whole out.
It's not funny. No, what was I saying so I could reiterate and not laugh? No, what I was saying was that there was times where I was suicidal, because I definitely was like, this is so painful. What is the point? Like, literally, what is the point to go through this? And like, for what? And it was just like, I remember there would be times where I was on the freeway and just like, I could end my life so quickly right now, and I would be tempted. Like, and then there was times where even Kevin was driving, and I'm like, I'm gonna say this, but I'm like, I'm tempted to die. Like, I want to die. And then he would just be like, okay, like, and I just like give him that heavy load, and I was like, that's how I feel. And it was definitely difficult, but I had to understand. And I think because I went through something similar like that, where I had those thoughts at like 12 years old, but I made a promise to God that I was going to worship him all my like life. That promise has kept me. I remember just being like, there's a natural desire to live as humans. It has to be for a reason. Like, we were built this way for a reason. And so even though, like, the idea of death might be like, oh, like, you couldn't come sooner, I'm so excited for that day, I know that I have a purpose in my life. And even right now, I might not see it. I know that if I keep walking and keep going forward, God's going to use my life. Like, I can't deny that he exists. He's shown up so many times. And even when I do deny that he exists, there's a natural inclination in my body that's like, I don't want to die. I want to live. And I'm like, my own like DNA is like crying out for life. And I'm like, I cannot end it. Like, that'd be just dumb. Like, I know that's not what I'm called to do. And so I just kept pushing forward. But I would be, I think, just so brutally honest with God, this is how I feel. And I think that's also what's kept me in my faith, is not faking it to God. I would tell him when I was pissed off at him. I would tell him when I was suicidal. I would tell him how I was feeling and just be like, I would tell him, like, I have no trust in, I don't trust you right now. Like, I don't have any hope in you. I'm like, but I'm here. And I think because I was just so honest with him, he just continued to just like, I'm holding you. And even in times where I'm like, I don't hear nothing. And then someone would give me a word and remind me, God is listening to you. And I was like, okay. And it's just been, it's waves of life where you go through like feeling completely hopeful, full of faith. And there's times where you just feel like at the pit and you're just like, I don't feel anything. I don't know where you are. Like, I'm alone. And you just have to keep walking forward, because literally like God is right there. Like, he does not leave us, and he is close to the brokenhearted. And there's times where I think recently I was telling you that I was grieving, that's why when you said love not knowing where it goes, I was grieving not having kids. And I was going through that, and I was just like, I feel grief. And I was like, I don't know how to like process this. And I was like, God, your word says you're close to those that are brokenhearted. I am broken right now. Meet me. And he is so good. Like, the love of God he's covered me. Like, the times where I thought I was going to walk away, he just like poured over peace. It did not make sense. And I remember like feeling there was a hurricane around me, and I was like standing in the storm. And I'm like, I know I'm supposed to freak out. I know I'm supposed to feel more, but I know I'm okay. Like, how am I okay? And I just remember like looking and just like literally worshiping through it. Like, I just kept every Sunday having to like lead the people in my brokenness. And I was like, I have to show up. Like, I'm such a people person. So I was like, I'm going to show up for them, even if I don't want to show up for myself. And I just had to keep like pouring out and singing these songs about life and singing these songs about like trusting him. And I'm just like, how am I doing? Like, I don't even trust you. And I would just go through that. And then just God kept meeting me and keeping me. And there's times where I'm like, like when I sing like the song, y no sé dónde estuviera, I literally feel like I would be dead without you. Like, I don't know where I would be if I truly like let my like flesh just thrive after my mom passing. But he has been so faithful, and he's definitely a God to count on. Like, he's been so good, and I'm so grateful for his love.
Yeah. And I think you hit it on the ballpark where you said, like, be honest, because I remember I wanted to not believe in God, or wanted to, like I said, like, depart from the world. But I think I mentioned this before, I think in the podcast, like, the first Sunday I went back to church, I was just like, I'm here because they made me, like, upset. Like, I wouldn't be here if it was out of my own willing. And then Aldo talked to me, and he's like, come on, sometimes there's nothing to do, all I could do is worship, or something like that. And then the song was the one with can't eat it, si solo tú tienes palabras de vida, can't eat it, or whatever. Later I find out like where it's from in the Bible, and like that story is beautiful, but for the sake of time I won't mention it. But I'm like, okay, God, clearly like there's nowhere else to go. Like, I can't go to the world, I can't go not trusting you. Like, clearly there's nowhere else to go. So I knew there was a God. I'm like, it's stupid of me to think like there isn't. But I think like wrestling with that did sustain me, because it was, I think, like 2 years after until I got like the epiphany, like wow, God, like I am great, where I was able to be grateful for what I went through. And I would never thought I'd speak the words of like, it's a gift, like to suffer like that. And it was 2 years after, and I was again going to like Bible college, so I was still trying to like learn about him. I was still upset, but it was like a random verse. I saved it because I knew I wanted to talk about it. But it was a random verse in like Revelation that had nothing to do with like grief or like what I was going through. Chapter, please hold. Okay, right here. It was bendito 16. 8 and then 9, it says, the fourth angel poured out his bowl on the sun, and it was allowed to scorch people with fire. They were scorched by the fierce heat, and they cursed the name of God who had power over these plagues. They did not repent and give him glory. And we were speaking about like the times or something, and literally in class, I felt like the Holy Spirit like speak to me, and I felt so convicted that I left, like my car was like crying, and then I had like make a video. So I made one like a while back. And I was just like, these people are obviously going through difficult times. Like they're going through suffering. They're going specifically through tribulations. They know it's from God. They know God is real. And then they don't give him the glory. Like they don't repent. Their heart gets hardened. And I was thinking like, that's what grief can do if you don't take control of it. If it becomes despair, you can harden your heart to the point where you know God is real and you just hate him. You hate him and you live life like that. And like, or it can be where it softens your heart, it breaks your heart, where you let Jesus in. You have no choice but to accept his love, and it can be transforming. And I was like, thank you, God, because you decided to use it to soften my heart. You decided for me to see you more. Where I could have easily gone through the path of being like, continue being bitter, continue hating him, continue down that road. And I was like, now I know my salvation, like is real. Like it's not because of my parents, it's not because of church, it's not because of my husband. Like at that moment, I knew, okay, if I did this and I still choose you, God, like this is it. Like my salvation is solidified. And I think that's the best gift you can have, where you know that your salvation is yours and no one can take it, nothing can take it. And so I was like grateful at that time, but it was a process getting there.
Yeah. Something you said that like, it just hit me. Well, you said that like your wrestling kept you. I thought about, it's the story of Jacob, right? That he wrestles with God. Well, the angel.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like he was wrestling, but he was close. Like because he was in that, he was closest to him at that moment. And when we wrestle, like we're able to be close to God because we're like in the middle of it. That's good. We leave transformed.
Yeah.
Like we, through our trauma, through everything, we wrestled with God.
We were broken.
And our hip is messed up.
Y'all got busted.
We literally went through that transformation. And so if you're going through trauma or, you know, like grief or something, the one thing that I can say is when you give it to God and you wrestle, you're going to leave transformed for the better. Like, yeah, I never thought about it that way. Like
that's straight from the Holy Spirit, like revelation.
Like
that's
literally, right? And what you said, I was like, we were closer to him because we wrestled. That's awesome. And we were able to be transformed. Yeah. I remember Mom saying she felt honored to go through what she was going through. She said she felt honored because she was able to give glory to God.
She said, God, thank you for choosing me and our family.
She would say that, and I'm like, hear her. And then now I'm like, it's crazy, but it's like, it's true. I don't regret. I don't take back. Like it's such a bittersweet thing to go through in the sense of it's painful. It's horrible, but you leave, like I would not be the person I am today without that. And I don't regret like the situation. Like I don't regret anything of it. Like I'm grateful that God chose our family. Yeah. I'm grateful that I got to wrestle with God. And a lot of people live their life never getting to a place where they want to wrestle with God. Yeah. I'm grateful that we wrestled. That's crazy. I never thought about that.
That's awesome. A word right there.
That is.
Your mom was such a warrior in that aspect.
Yeah.
Like that. I wish there was like a reality show on your mom during that process, because that would have been such a great testimony for anyone to see. Yeah. Of like, you know, like you get cancer, like, oh, where's your God now? And like you could just imagine your mom like, watch me.
I have videos of her dancing, literally like sick, but dancing and just saying, I give you glory. Like, oh, she was.
Where other people would have been broken and dismayed.
Yep.
Your mom was like, nah, I'm going to give God glory through all this.
It was her, I was like, for sure, like, I was inspired by her worship to never like, I'm like, whenever there's a time to worship, I was like, even if I'm angry, even if I'm like if my mom went through that, there was no reason for me to if I have all my legs, all my limbs and all of that, and my mom was like broken and all that, but still was worshiping like 110%. I was like, I can do that. And I was so that's why like I always inspired to like worship like her, because
I
like,
love the way you worship Jesse. I
so,
love it.
yeah,
After Mom,
her,
you're my favorite.
Yeah.
Melody, I love the way you sing, but the way
I know. He gives everything with all of his body.
And, yeah.
He dances like David, literally.
not like this David.
Not the
Like
biblical.
the psalmist David. But I love the way you worship too. We're like
Yes.
surrounded by worshipers, and I think that's the best gift she left behind.
Yes.
And you guys kind of like answered my next question, which was, what does grief look like on day 1, year 1, and year 7? And year 7, you guys are kind of talking about it right now, and that's kind of like the hope of it. Like, it took time, but you guys have gotten to the point where you guys now look back, and you just said it right now. I do not regret it. And like, you look back and you see who your mom was through that all. Like, like if anybody has a testimony, it was your mom. If anybody could say like, it doesn't matter what you go through, because like that churches say that all the time. It doesn't matter what you go through, but no, your mom could literally stand up and be like, it doesn't matter what you go through. Like, I feel
worthy.
like poop right now, but I'm still giving God glory, But like, and this is kind of like to hopefully give people encouragement who are hearing this, that have gone through this, going through this, might go through this. What does grief look like day 1, year 7? Because when you're in the box, I always talk about the box. When you're in the box, like, it seems endless.
Yeah.
It seems like I don't know when this is going to stop.
Yeah. Day 1 was horrible. I remember constantly like waking up throughout the night and just like, this isn't my reality. And I would just like bawl again and then fall asleep and then wake up to crying again. Like, it was like, and I just remember feeling that like, it feels like the worst of the worst. You're at the bottom. Then year 1 was hard.
Going through all the holidays is the hardest.
Yeah, the holidays, especially the first ones. The first ones is just like,
those are the
I would
hardest.
just like Christmas, and I just remember like going to the car and just bawling my eyes out.
Dude,
and, like,
Christmas felt gray.
Thanksgiving.
That first one, yeah.
Gray.
4th of July, and especially like a woman that celebrates, like, I'm telling you, she celebrates like
With her
March
body,
2nd, like a random day. You know,
oh, it's
like,
Memorial Day? Like,
it's March 2nd.
It's Groundhog Day? We're gonna.
And so, like, can you like just imagine her celebration on those special days?
Nah, July 4th.
July
Yeah.
1st, she went hard. She went hard.
Like, till this day, I'm just like, oh, like, I miss it so much. I miss it so much. And so, like, it
The
sucks
first year is
when
that. Like, you're still going through a lot of moments of like, you get reminded very easily that she's not there or they're not there. So it's like constant reminders. And then you said what year? What?
7.
And then year 7.
Those are just like
well,
basically
later
like,
on,
like right
She's like,
after,
well, 5
kind of in the
and a
middle.
half.
you eventually like start create your own customs. I think honoring traditions, and it's not so like you do things in remembrance for them, and you're like happy that you get to do it. So it's like a bittersweet feeling.
Yeah.
I don't think the bittersweetness ever really leaves, but now there's just a lot more life that's there. Like, so when we do 4th of July, I don't get nearly as sad anymore because now I get to see my nephew and niece like experience it and see it, and I'm just like so excited for them. And there's like a tiny bittersweet moment, but there's so much more distraction that I don't think about it as much. And I feel like it doesn't fade. The pain is still the same.
We still
it
have
just
that broken
comes.
hip.
Yeah, it just still it comes differently and different. Like, I feel like the waves are a little bit more like it's a while for the next one to hit. Like, it takes a while. Sometimes they come randomly, but it doesn't happen that often for me. But again, everyone's really different, and so like she took my mom's like anniversary passing very like hard. I did not take it as hard. Like, and I don't make myself feel bad because I don't feel what she feels. I'm just like, that's just not how I feel. And I'm also the only one that really goes to the cemetery. Nobody else does. And I'm like, I will never make them feel guilty for not going. That's the way I like to process and go and like have my moment with my mom.
Yeah.
We're all
Don't
very
compare
different.
yourself of like, this is how they're grieving. Should I do this? Should I feel like that? Because everyone is completely different. And I think I had to like realize that too. Like, well, I don't care if we're going to this. I do care. I want my kids to go, but I personally like don't care. Yeah, if you want to take them.
I could take them.
But I think, how you said, well, that first day, I honestly don't even remember feeling anything. Like, I don't remember.
Really?
I remember Carrie and Nate took us to eat breakfast the next morning, and I don't remember feeling anything. Like,
Yeah.
I don't remember.
There's a lot of blurs. A lot of blurs. Yeah.
And so that was it. First year is so hard because we already had our son like that year, I think.
That's crazy.
2017? And yeah, 2017.
Yeah, that same year.
And that sucked. I think it sucked because even like the baby, like doing your baby registry is so overwhelming. There's so many products thrown at a new mom's face. And all I wanted to do was like, Mom, what did you do? Like, Mom, what do you recommend? Mom, like there's no one you trust more than your mom, at least me. I was blessed enough that I could say that. And so I was like, I don't really want to go to like, there was no one around me either. So it was difficult. So that sucked. All the first is so bittersweet. Like I am so happy that he's here. And I think even when my dad visited and you guys visited, like it's clear, like there's a missing piece. Something's missing. But at the same time, I think God knew what he was doing and we needed something. We needed a soothing. Like God knew, it was like, okay, you guys are hurting so much. And so I think the whole family was like there's good news. Like something good is happening. It sucks that the timing is, horrible, but like we needed it. It was God's timing because we didn't plan for Elijah. Year 7, I think now every time I think about, it's complicated, and I think maybe I still need to process in therapy because I feel like I don't want to think about it too much because I get so sad, and I don't want to get into like a depressing, like I know I can easily, if I don't keep my thoughts in check, I can go really negative. And so part of me is like, okay, think about it, acknowledge it, and move on. Because if I sit there for a long time, I can get really, really sad.
Do you get your sadness mainly because you're a mom now, so you think prospective mom? Or do you think you're sad because you remember like details like?
No, I think as a mom, like my son is like, how can I describe what a woman she was to my kids?
Yeah.
Like no words do it justice. How can they?
There's a lot of YouTube videos.
Yeah. I'm like, how can I, like I tell my son, like, grandma was silly like you, and like she would have like goes, yeah. But I'm like, oh, if he just knew, like she would have loved them. Or like Araya, I think I recorded it. I don't think I sent it to you, but like she was, like she like scared me. Like she swears she scares me. She goes, boo. And I'm like, Araya, you scared me. I'm not Araya, I'm Belly. She kept saying the whole day. And I'm just like, Belly would do that. And like some days she picks to be Elsa. Some days she picks to be Princess Araya. Some days she picks Belly. She like, but that day, like she was just scaring me and saying, I'm Belly. I'm like, she doesn't even know how much this means to me, but like I pray she gets like her spirit and her like, her spot. I can already see it in her fierceness. Yeah. Like my mom was a lion. Like she's fierce, but she's so sweet, but she's such a silly girl. So that like, I think those are the moments as a mom where like it hurts. And I'm like, oh God, why? But also like when I do miss her so much, where I feel like I look at God and I'm like, this is why it's grief, because this is not how it's supposed to be. This is not our home. And so I remind myself that even like in loving God, I think in Matthew it said how like they were having dinner and the disciples were like, Jesus, why are we not fasting? And he's like, you don't fast when the bridegroom's here. Like that there'll be a time to mourn and there'll be a time to fast, but enjoy me. And every time I think about that, it's like God reminds me, you're not here to love, mom's not here to love, like this isn't how it's supposed to be. And it just reminded me to continue on because there will be a day where everything will be okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's my year 7.
My day 1, same thing. I don't remember it to be. I do not remember it, to be honest. Like waking up the next day, I think again it felt gray. It just felt like numb. Yeah. I didn't feel anything. But year 1, if I'm remembering, I think I was trying my best to be spiritually strong. And because I think the whole thing, like being a pastor's kid, like I was still seeking God, but then I feel like I had to go to church and I had to like put up a face saying like I'm good, but I was still mourning for my mom, but I feel like I couldn't show it. Yeah. Like I had to be like, oh, like yeah, I miss my mom, but like we're okay. But like I wasn't really okay. So I think on like my private time, I'll be like, God, like I need you. I'm really hurting. So I think year 1 was still like me trying to get used to the whole like emptiness of mom, but trying to just be. I honestly was more just trying to like be closer to God, because at that time he was the only person I can like get close to, and just like I needed that father figure. And I know dad was there, but like I was like I needed my spiritual father. But yeah, year 7, honestly, like it honestly has been really good. Like, because I think, again, having Stephanie in my life, my fiance, which I know I don't care about talking about her. I love her to death. But like,
if you haven't caught, he's engaged.
I'm in love, by the way. No, yeah.
That's cute though. I'd rather do that than like dreading marriage.
No, literally, like, no, but I think, thank God for her. Like, she's helped me so much to just grieve like healthy with mom, like always remembering her. And she's like, oh, do you miss your mom? Like kind of like reminding me. And I was like, I do miss her. But like now I'm at like, I have my family, like I'm at a good place with my family now where I'm like, I just need them.
And you're
like I just need you.
Future.
Yeah, like honestly, I'm like, I just need you and I just need my family and I'm good. And like, yeah, I'm going to miss mom not being there for like my wedding or like for my children. But I'm like, now it's shifting where like I have the mother figures, which are my sisters, that are going to take care of my nephews and nieces. And I got like Steph, of course, the mom of my, like of the mother of my children, like of course going to take care of. But I'm like, if they ever want to see the spirit of mom, I'm like, I just show them my my sisters, the titis.
Stop.
So like, I think now I've learned how to adapt, like in the year 7 of having mom not here. And of course, there's times where I still miss the crap out of her, of course. But like, again, like, when I missed her anniversary, it wasn't like, I didn't feel bad, but I was like, oh, like, I think it was me, like, I think it was like kind of mom nodding, like, you're living your life now. Like, you can keep moving. You don't need to like look back all the time. And like, there was times where I felt bad, but then like, yeah, I think there was a piece where it's like again, like Steph was like, oh, like, it's your mom's anniversary. How do you feel? And I was like, honestly, I feel good. Like, I feel like I can keep going now, knowing that like she has my back and like she sent me you, like God sent me you, like my family's now better. Like I love my family again. Like I feel good. So I think the year 7, it again took so much time, took so much mourning and so much like a process and wrestling. But again, I adapted to knowing like mom's like letting me move forward now, and she's giving me the tools to move forward in my new life. So
Wow,
it's beautiful.
I love that, and I truly believe like each of us, there's 4 of us that got a thing about like something from mom, and I love that. And every time I see my kids with you, Mello, like David says it, like you're like the closest, right? Like to mom ever. And I'm like, they have Titi Mello, and that brings such comfort knowing like I think for like how mom was for you, like that's how they see you, I think. Like obviously I'm their mom, but
yeah, it's crazy.
You are so close to her. I always say like my older sister, I think she got that protective fierceness, like that mama bear that my mom had. The frugal like creativeness, just like the survivor mode. Like she, like the pioneer of like, I am a strong, capable, I'm gonna, like my mom moved cross country, like she got that from my mom.
You got the wisdom from mom, like your way of speaking, the way you like read your Bible, the way you're so
scripture,
like,
so you're so strong in faith.
You got her like brain power, like it just you have so much wisdom.
Biggest compliment I think for me. Thank you. And you,
I got her heart.
Yeah, just to serve people like that's like people when they speak about her, it's like the impact they did, the love, the action, the service, and you, how you said, I think it could be your weakness, but I'm so glad now you're able to do it in a healthy way because you're impacting so many, like just your heart. And Jesse, your social, like, I am personality shocked. I am so shocked. You're like in the line and it's like seeing my mom, like in the line, making those conversations. Yeah. You just make people feel at home. Like, I've known you for so long. And it's like, dude, when did you meet them? Like 2 minutes ago.
He's so good at that.
Yeah, and I think we all got like a bit of her worship. Like we're all worshiper. Like Jesse and I aren't on stage, but we all got that, what worship means. I think it's, you guys, I think we're so blessed because my dad was a worshiper and my mom, like her life. And so.
I was telling Jesse in the car, I feel so honored and grateful that that I got 19 years with her. I'm like, compared to someone that got 0 years with my mom, like I won the lottery just having 19 years. That woman, when we talk about her, I really wish everyone could have met her. Like I feel like people are like, okay, she wasn't that good. No, she was. She was funny. She was smart. The best storyteller. She was literally like the heart.
The life of the party.
Like the life of the party. She loved to dance.
Never a dull moment.
She loved all the babies.
But
she loved people.
The crazy thing about her is like that grace positive side, but she could correct someone.
Oh yeah.
With so much love and just like her heart was a heart for like justice and like holiness and zeal. But you never felt attacked. You felt like it's coming from like she was like so like truly going after what Jesus was. Like she
had so much respect. Like you respect her in every aspect. Like as being a great mom, loving, but like what you said, like she knew how to be firm where you're like, okay, like I respect her. Like it's like like again, like a lioness, like they're so loving at times with their cubs and all that, but like you mess with them or like they will show you their power. And she was like that, and like you can like you had to be like
she was just
like, but she was powerful. Just overall amazing.
Very powerful woman.
I think all the characteristics that you guys said are pretty on point. What you guys got from each like from her, and I think for me, I would say that she has been one of the greatest reflections of Jesus that I have ever seen in my short 34 years of life.
That's amazing though.
Like as I hear you guys like saying these, I'm like, they're also characteristics of Jesus. And I'm like, it's beautiful that you guys are like, this is what I got from my mom. But I'm like, she was such a, like right now I just came to that conclusion. Like she was such a great reflection of Jesus. Yeah. Like she was just like, hey kids, like, you know where it says in the Bible, like, be like me. Your mom was like, I'm right there. Yeah. You know?
Amen. She ran the race.
And I think it's a testament that none of us have walked away from the faith because of our parents. And so I don't take that. I always say, like, thanks for my grandparents because I know they were prayer warriors. It like trickles down. Thank you for my parents. Thank you for God for like keeping us because easily we had every excuse to be like, bye. Like we were such a close family following God's heart. We could have easily said, you technically don't care about us. Yeah. And found all the excuses not to. But I hope we're going to wrap this up because it's been a long...
Yeah. How long has it been?
And I feel like we could continue. Like grief is so complex and just life after grief and even advice. We didn't even get to that, but I think hopefully you got the advice as we were talking.
Or if you want in the comments part 2.
Yeah, if you want a part 2, I'm sure they'd love to back. This is healing for us too, I think. Yeah. In speaking about it.
Yeah. And learning. Like I didn't know a lot of the way he grieved or things like that. I'm like, wow, like I know we all grieve differently, but
I never saw your guys' point of views. Like honestly, I think
because we were surviving.
At that moment. Like I think I saw how you guys did, but like again, like hearing it out loud and like understanding, I was like, oh wow, like it is new, and like again, I could still learn so much from you guys. But
so let us know if you enjoyed this and you want a part 2, because I definitely won't get tired talking about my mom. 100%. So thank you guys for watching. Again, it's always humbling if you guys stay till the end. We thank you so much. Make sure to like and share and send it to someone who you think might need to hear this. Grief is never easy. It's hard, but how you heard, the only thing you could do is cling on to Jesus. And trust me, he will get you through it. You might not know how or when, but that he will take you on the other side of victory, he will, because the cross is a perfect representation of how suffering leads to glory, how there is redemption in the process. And so we hope that you learned something today. And thank you, Jesse and Melody. I love you guys so much.
Thank you guys very much.
Babe, I love you so much.
I love you too.
And till our next episode. Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.